Hi, welcome. I'm Lucy Townsley and I'm a women's health expert. So I help women who are trying to have babies. I really don't like the word infertility because I think it has negative connotations. I help women through their pregnancy because often I find that when you first get pregnant, it can be really daunting and you just don't know where you are. So it's really, I support you through your pregnancy. I also help when you've had your baby. I love to see my clients when they've had their babies and do a mother warming treatment. It's really beneficial to women and they found it really, really helpful. But I also help with perimenopause and menopause. It's an area that's not very much spoken about, and this is one of the reasons why I have this channel, Women's Health Matters, because it's very important about our health and that we look after ourselves because we don't do that enough in our lives. So I've had some amazing speakers on my channel, and I have another really amazing lady today, Louise Fynes. She is based here in Loughrea and I have been to her classes and they've been really excellent. So Louise is a movement coach, so the movement of people's bodies. She does Chilates, which is, it's like Pilates, I hope I'm saying this right, but it's with stretching and relaxation and meditation techniques as well. She's a massage sports therapist. She does myofascial release and a dawn therapist. Also, she does personal coaching, including sports coaching. So there's loads of things here that we're going to talk about today. And all of these aspects are really good for our health, especially women's health. So Louise, tell me more about what you do.
What do I do? Well, like you, I work with women. I do work with men as well, so that I'm not predominantly a women's coach. But for the purposes of today, we'll just talk about women because, you know, we are women. Yes. And all of the aspects of my work are associated with movement, not only physical movement, but mental fitness as well. So, for example, we'll start with movement therapy is learning to move with your body and bring your body in alignment. So if we look at that as a holistic thing, then it's about getting yourself grounded and centered and getting to know your body. So later on, when we're talking about, because the topic I'm going to talk about today is pelvic floor. When we're talking about the pelvic floor, it's about actually getting in tune with your pelvic floor, how it feels, and what sort of movement you've got going in your pelvic floor, especially for women over the ages of 50. I am part of that club, very proud. So we're going to talk about that and also going through the menopause and easing through the menopause. So that's one of the aspects that I do, but I do also rehabilitation work. So people who've had accidents or injuries, then I can help them learn to use those muscles, use those joints again in the correct way. Then going on to Chilates. Now, Chilates is a fantastic new program. It is the move on from Pilates. Pilates is a strong core program. It helps really get your core into action. And for those of you who don't understand core, that's all that middle piece here. That's your abdominals, your lower back, your glutes, your thighs. It's really getting to strong, centered, and making sure that your spine is healthy and young. As Joseph Pilates always said, you're only as young as your spine. So if you've got a healthy spine, you're going to have a healthy movement. And you'll learn to move from a natural position instead of this position out behind the computer or carrying the kids or whatever we're doing every day. The myofascial release then is a great way for sports injuries. It's releasing that myofascia that lies under your skin. So under the skin of the whole body, we have fascia. And if our fascia is tight, which is often the case with us because we lead very stressful lives, you may have problems with your stomach, your digestion, the liver might not function properly, and especially the spleen might not function properly. So you're not getting enough rest in the organs either. And that releases a lot of tension in the body. And then the dawn therapy that I do, dawn therapy is a German therapy, and that actually manipulates the joints and the spine, and it realigns. Again, going back to what we're going to talk about today with pelvic floor, it's a really good way to realign that hip joint, that SI joint, and it really just releases the pressure in the joints. So you'll feel lighter after it. It also releases the discs in the spine, so it's sort of a very light manipulation of the joints, just getting back into line. Sport therapy is, for a lot of people, means different things, but for me it means the maintenance of your body if you're a sporter. Often the case, and what I've learned here in Loughrea is that a lot of people play a lot of different sports here, which is great. And then they don't, care for their bodies enough. Top sporters have a whole team taking care of them on a regular basis. Why should we not take care of ourselves? If you are doing sports on a regular basis, and a lot of people here, especially in Galway, are doing sports 4 or 5 times a week, which is great. They're not caring for their bodies as the temple they should be treated as. So it's a maintenance program and so a maintenance prevention program, but also a recovery program. So I work with all different types of injuries. I lived in Holland for 21 years, so I worked in Holland. I worked a lot with footballers, because that's a top soccer. That is soccer. I have to say that here. So they marathon runners and cyclists. So I have a lot of experience with a lot of different types of sport injuries. So and I love what I do, but especially the feet and the ankles. We underestimate how important they are in our sporting world, in our sporting life. So then I go on and I have a personal coaching program. But the personal coaching program is not only for sports and weight loss, it's also about who you are as a person, what your routines are, what your triggers are, what your stresses are, and how you respond to them. Because how you respond to stress is how your body's going to respond to it. And we forget that. And if we're very stressed and we're very overworked or we're overtraining, our bodies will be stressed. And the coaching will release the triggers in your brain, so that will get you to be mentally fit as well as physically fit. And if I bring that back then to what we're going to do today, I'm going to give you some exercises for your pelvic floor today, is that women tend to hold a lot of stress in the pelvic floor. And it comes because everything's on the inside with us. It's all on the inside, it's all pushing down. And if you're of a woman of age where you had children, even if you haven't had children, the pelvic floor will take quite a pounding from our organs and are changing in hormones. So I'm going to give you 5 exercises today to release that tension in the pelvic floor that you can do at home. And I'm just dressed in my normal clothes, so not my sports clothes, so you can do it wherever you are. Might look funny at you at the office if you do it on the office floor, but if you have your own office, go for it. But so we're going to be talking about the pelvic floor today, and it's something that's very close to me. I mean, I have 2 children. I had a lot of pelvic floor issues after the birth of my first daughter, and I realigned, and I'm really in touch with my pelvic floor, but it's also being in touch with your femininity. That we forget that as women, that we have this feminine side, and we need to get to be friends with that feminine side. And often what I find when I'm coaching women that need pelvic floor treatment, they're not friends with their pelvic floor. They see it as this in the way thing, because they've got like a pouch in the stomach, or they're holding weight there. And if we just breathe into the pelvic floor and gently move it around, and not only will it release your body and the tensions in your body, ladies, I can tell you, it will improve your sexual life over 50, which is a good thing to hear, because a lot of women going through menopause really have issues with their sexual health.
Mm-hmm.
And sexual health in the sense of our hormones have changed, our interests have changed, our bodies have changed, and it's about accepting that change and going with it and improving on it.
I think pelvic floor is a massive issue, and this is how I met you. When I had Amber when I was 40, well, just almost 41, so she was born a week before I was 41, and it was fine. And I remember going actually out to a dinner dance with my sister and her husband and my partner and friends. I remember jumping around on the dance floor thinking I was like 20 again. I'm sure I didn't quite move like that, but anyway, that's what I did. But it was a shock. I was like, I leaked. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? I had to run to the toilet and go to the toilet before I could go back to jumping around again. And I left it and didn't do anything about it. And I just used to remember going to a Zumba class, and the same thing happened when we started jumping around. I'd have to go to the toilet to make sure my bladder was really empty. And even just that tiny little bit that would be left, I could feel it leaking out of me. and it was embarrassing, and it was something that I didn't talk about at all, because I was embarrassed. So I think, yeah, it is a big thing, and that's why one of the reasons why I met you and I came to you, and it has been helping me, definitely. So that's why, you know, it's important that you don't hide it. And I remember actually my sister telling me a story about a lady that she worked with, and she wouldn't even walk. She couldn't walk from the tube station to the office. She'd have to get a taxi, and it was only a 5-minute like walk, because she wasn't able to walk that far without leakage, which was scary for her. Very scary.
But the thing is, we make it into our, as if it's personal to us. We're the only one on the planet that has this issue, and it's, you know, it's a terrible thing. It's a shameful thing. Not shameful, ladies. I'm here to tell you, if you don't have it, thumbs up for you. I'm jealous. But, you know, we all have it at some stage in life. Even if you haven't had children, you may still get it, because things will just go south. You know, it just happens. And talking about it gives you a better mental health about it, because when you keep it in your head, it's like this big elephant I always describe it as a big elephant that's sitting on your shoulders or on your bladder, and it's just pushing, you know. And it's not a shameful thing. It's a medical condition, but it's also a physical condition that we can do certain things to improve on. There is medical things for medical treatments for it as well, which I personally think we should do everything we can to avoid those, because operations are invasive in the body. Not against them. Medical world is great. I work very well with doctors and other medical professions, but it's not a shameful thing. And women have been ashamed of it for so long that it's time to, you know, come out with it and say, listen, if you've got it, talk about it, get some help, because there's a lot of help out there for it. Walking, dancing, jumping, running, all those things. And there's also little tiny devices that can help. You know, the easiest way to do it, and the most inexpensive way to do it, it's not the healthiest way, but if you're going sporting and you have this problem, you can use a tampon, and the tampon will just push the pressure back up, so you won't leak so much. There's also the block, and there's a ring, and there's what we call a yoni egg that can exercise the pelvic floor muscles on the inside for you. And you can use all of those things while dancing and jumping about on the trampoline if you want to.
Yeah, that's another thing. Jumping on the trampoline with my 9-year-old. She thinks it's hilarious that I have to run and go to the toilet. She thinks it's the funniest thing ever in her whole life.
Oh, I know. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, I've been a boot camp instructor for, I don't know, 20 years or something now. And as I went into my 40s, things started going south, you know, as they do. And I was like, I'm going to go for surgery. I'm going to go for surgery. I said, because, you know, I really have to be able to do, I have to be able to do the 5K with everybody else. I have to be able to, you know, be confident in doing all these exercises. And the good thing about doing boot camp, being outside, is nobody notices. Okay, so that's yeah. But it was an issue, and I thought I have to do something about it. So I had decided I have to go for surgery. So I went and spoke to my gynecologist, and my gynecologist said, now we only do surgery if it's absolutely necessary. And I said, well, I feel it's absolutely necessary. He said, no, we have a whole panel, and you have to meet with the panel, and you go through different phases. And I was so pleased that they did that, because I didn't need surgery. I just needed to relearn and refocus and stabilize my pelvic floor. Once I did that, it was an eye-opener. It was also, it gave me the confidence back, just as you said. It gave me the confidence back to be able to do all the things I enjoyed doing, like, you know, boot camp and running 5K and step lessons and all that sort of thing I used to do, and Zumba lessons. And it gave me back that confidence. And it was very simple changes that I made that improved it. And one of the major changes I made was I was always peeing. I felt like I have to run, I have to go. And I had to retrain my bladder, because my bladder became lazy. And like everything else, the bladder is a muscle. So you have to train the bladder again.
Yes.
And, you know,
you told me that one. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. You told me that one. That's what I've been practicing.
So I have 2 children, but I've had 5 pregnancies. So, you know, the womb has been expanded, and what happens with that energy?
Can I put you on hold just for 1 second? Someone has just yelling at me at the stairs. 2 secs. Sorry, I'm going to press play again. Okay.
So when we're talking about the bladder being lazy and restraining the bladder. So the best way to do that is when we get the prolapse or the what I call the lazy bladder, because the muscles need to be tightened up again. We allow the bladder to dictate what happens. So we feel mentally, oh, I have to pee, because if I don't pee, I'm going to leak. So we're constantly allowing the bladder to empty when it's not really full. So what I suggest is, and it does work if it takes some time, but it does work. So you get like a 250 ml glass beaker. I don't know if that's so big. 200. And every time you pee, you fill that glass, or most of that glass. And what happens in the beginning, you realize you're only doing this much, and then you're like, oh, I didn't really need to pee that much. The urgency wasn't there, but I let my bladder lead me. And then you bring the up and up and up and up and up, and then you train the bladder to hold it in. So you're training that muscle, just like every other muscle that we have. We're training that bladder again to say, okay, I don't need to leak now, and you're pulling it in. I don't suggest you hold it in, because that's not good for us either, but it's a way of training the bladder back into being normal again. And then
because one of the worst things is sneezing or coughing. Oh my God, sneezing sometimes and have a full bladder. I have to prepare to sneeze.
Right. We all do. I still cross my legs when I sneeze. So anybody who sees me doing that now doesn't know why I'm doing that. But yeah. But I still do that out of habit, because that's also the thing, is we have a lot of habits, and we can break habits. It takes 21 days to break and to make a new habit. So that's true, ladies. That's a scientific fact. I don't know who wrote that scientific fact, but it does work. But sneezing, coughing, being active in general is very difficult when you have a leaking bladder. And as I said at the beginning, there is medical treatments for it. And some people will need those medical treatments because they have a prolapsed womb and it's pushing on the bladder, or it's pushing on, and sometimes when we are in menopause, of course, and we're not ovulating anymore, so we're missing a piece of our cycle, our womb is trying to shed an egg that's not there. So it's preparing for something that's not there anymore. And that can put pressure on the bladder, but it puts pressure on our psyche, because we're confused in what's happening with our cycles and what's happening with our bodies. And it's about getting to know your body and to love your body, and particularly, ladies, your pelvic floor, because it's one of the most important parts of us. It's what makes us feminine. And a lot of women in the menopause have sexual problems because the pelvic floor is sagging, or for want of another word, or it's drying up, or it's leaking all the wrong fluids. It's so unpleasant. And if we get into that, we realize that, and we learn about it. And when I say learn about it, I mean learn about your own body and what's happening in your body, and learn what your triggers are and how that stress is related to how you're reacting to it. So train your bladder to only pee when it's full, and not keep dribbling out. And do the pelvic floor exercises that I've got today for you. And it will improve your whole psyche. Because as a woman, this leaking is a terrible thing. I mean, it's nobody wants it. Nobody's
because you're really conscious of leaking. It's showing on your trousers if you're wearing trousers. The smell as well. That's another element of it. There's so many different things that can come again, for it. And it's terrible, when you think when it started to me when I was like 42, 43, I was young, to be in this position, but it's a lot of us have it. Yeah,
I mean, I was in my 40s as well when it happened, and I was like, when I was talking to my sister about it, and I was like, I'm definitely going for surgery, because I can't do this. It's interfering with my work. It's interfering with my daily routines. And And I was saying, but I mean, I'm just a coward when it comes to surgery. I'm thinking, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But I was like, I'm broken now. I just have to fix this. Sneezing in public was always a drama. As was when I had a young child in my 40s as well. I think my youngest daughter was about 5-6 years old. So like, we'd be on the street playing, or we'd be, by the football grounds. And if I had to run somewhere, I'd be like, oh no, I had to like support myself before I did any of that. And it is a taboo, and we shouldn't make it a taboo. We should just be open about it. Like, if we had diabetes, we wouldn't think twice about telling people we had diabetes or heart condition. It's exactly the same thing. It's something that will happen with age. It doesn't always have to happen. And so there's a lot of women I know that don't have it, and I'm like, I'm so jealous. Fantastic for you. But if you've had a traumatic birth at any stage in your pregnant life, the likelihood that you're going to get it is nearly 100%, because all that pushing and shoving, as Betty White always said, I loved her comment. She said, instead of saying grow balls, they should say grow vagina, because that takes a hammering. And it's so true. It takes a hammering in every way, shape, or form. And because I really believe that women of all ages should have a healthy body, healthy mind, but also for women, we should be able to openly talk about the pelvic floor issues, our leakage issues, our sexual issues, because as we go on in our ages, that's all going to change. What interested us 10 years ago doesn't interest us now, because we don't feel we don't feel attractive with it, or we feel ashamed of the fact that we're leaking, or that sort of thing. And I'm an advocate for women's sexual health, in the sense of take ownership of your body, take ownership of what's going on, and do something about it, because there's so much to be done about it, really and truly. And we'll
definitely have to have another chat about that element in women's health, the sexual aspect of it. We definitely will. That'll be another podcast we'll definitely have to do together for this. Yeah. Definitely.
And for those people who know me outside of Ireland or whatever, they will know that I'm always talking about women's sexual health, because I'm such a strong believer in owning our own bodies, but also owning our own control over our own sexual health. And sexual health is a big thing. It's not just about sex. And also that there's more than this, as my father would always say, there's more ways to skin a cat or skin a goat. There's more ways to enjoy sexual health as we get older. So we don't only have to think of all the things we used to do that we actually don't enjoy anymore, because our bodies have changed, or because we have dryness, or because we have a prolapse or leaking. There's so many other ways we can enjoy, and we can still have healthy sex lives and still have an enjoyable sex life. Because a lot of women go off sex during the menopause because sex is no longer enjoyable. And when you get in touch with that pelvic floor area, and you're, as we call it, the yoni, when you get in touch with your yoni and your femininity in that yoni, you learn so much more about your sexual health and your sexual well-being, and what's enjoyable. And that's so important. What's enjoyable to you at this stage in your life. And I'm not saying, I do agree, age is just a number, and you can, I feel like I'm 25. My kids remind me every day I'm not, but I do. And sometimes I behave like a 25-year-old. But my body isn't 25. No matter how hard my mentality is, and I'm like, I'm not. I'm in my 50s. I love being in my 50s, and I absolutely have gone into my 50s with such. I'm proud of the fact that I'm in my 50s, and I'm happy that I'm in my 50s, because I've learned so much, and I love it, and I love my pelvic floor.
Okay, I can't wait to see what exercises you have in line for us to try to practice.
Well, I have one, and I heard a new name for today, which I'm quite happy about. So I was looking at other people doing it on YouTube, saying one woman called it the fire hydrant, which I think is a much nicer name than what I have for it, which is the pissing dog.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a much nicer name. So we're going to do I think I had lots of exercises, but I'm going to just do the easiest ones to start off, and if we do the next podcast, we'll do some more. But I'm going to start with very simple ones. And some we already know. We know about the pelvic tilt, but a lot of us are doing the pelvic tilt wrong, and that's why it's not giving us the benefits or the result we want. And it's just about getting into the right alignment. That's really important. So we're going to start with the pelvic tilt because that's important. And then I'm going to add an element to that pelvic tilt, which is the ball, which you know from class.
Yes.
So I'm in my ordinary clothes, as you can see.
I'm going to watch you doing these because I can't really lay on the floor because I'll disappear off the screen.
Yeah,
no, so I'll watch you, and then I can watch this back and practice them as well.
Exactly. But you can also ask questions or while I'm doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we've talked a lot about a lot of stuff now. So so basically the pelvic tilt is, I use a cushion for my head. You don't need to if you don't want to, but I use it. There's a couple of exercises I wouldn't use it, and I will show you that. But this one I use it for because it's just, you know, I think I'm over 50 and I'm entitled to my comfort.
You're dead right.
So I'm going to look up to the ceiling now. So you're not going to see me looking at you because you're not doing it. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to pull my top up so you can see me. So we're going to exercise all this area here. So, and what often happens to women as well is they get a lot of trouble around pains in the hips. And that sometimes is not actually coming from our hips, it's coming from our groin area and the lower stomach area. So from your belly button to your pubic bone, this is your abdominals. You can do a finger thumb check. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that this is your hamstrings right here. These are hamstrings, back of the thighs. If you have short hamstrings, so if you've been playing sport all your life, you're probably going to have tight, short hamstrings. You're going to bring your heels as close to the glutes as you can. If you don't have that, you can move them a bit away. And all you're going to do is, it's a sort of Michael Jackson movement. So I'm going to place my hand so you can see my hand move. You're going to keep those, I'm going to put one hand here, so you can see what I'm doing. So you're just going to tilt it, but you're going to pull it from the inside. So you're just going to tilt that pelvis like this. And now I'm pulling all my muscles in towards my belly button. And then you're going to release again. So it's a tilt. I'm just going to show you the tilt is going like this. So my glutes are not really leaving the floor. They're staying there and releasing it. So I'm not doing this. I'm doing a really slow and determined movement.
You're just literally pulling it up internally or externally?
Internally. So you think that you've got a string behind that belly button, right? So the string is going from the belly button and it's going behind here, and you're pulling that string from behind and you're just tilting. It looks like I'm not doing anything.
No, yeah, you're doing.
So I'm going to exaggerate the move so you can see what I'm doing. So really all I'm doing is this. I'm pulling this in here.
Okay.
This is the exaggerated move, but just gently pull it in and release. And you'll feel all the muscles here. And you'll feel that, and what you want to try and make sure that you're doing is that you're pulling everything in. Most women get these after they've given birth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really small movement. But to add to that movement, I'm going to use the ball. The ball is going to do a couple of things. It's going to keep our knees in the right line, because we want to make sure our hips are in the right line. If I just move like this, I'll show you. See, my legs are in what we call the body line. They're in line with my hips. But what often happens is when we're doing these exercises, our knees go out, and we want to make sure we keep them in. So we're going to use the ball to control.
That's what happens to me. My knees go out.
Yeah, so
it's very hard to keep them in.
So when you're using the ball gives you the advantage of, one, keeping the hips in line, and two, it pulls on the inside of the thighs as well. So it's really going to get all those muscles moving in. So we're going to do, I've got my mat, I see. I'll straighten it up. Okay, so you're going to put the ball between your knees, and then all you're going to do is the same pelvic tilt, but then you're going to squeeze the ball and you're going to tilt the pelvis. So you're going to squeeze the ball and tilt the pelvis. And by squeezing the ball, if I really squeeze hard, you'll see, maybe you will see on the thing that my legs will begin to shake, and you know, you'll get like a tremor in the legs. Brilliant, not a problem. Just means you're activating all those muscles. You don't need to do it too strange. And then the other thing that comes along with menopause is shoulder problems in ladies. Women, we have so many shoulder problems, and so many women are getting diagnosed with frozen shoulders. It's hormonal. So when you're doing these exercises, just bring your arms down along your body like this, and turn your hand, palm of your hand towards your body. And that lets the shoulder relax into the natural movement. And then you're just going to pelvic tilt. You can just about see my, I thought this was a good color with the background, but it isn't. I have to wear bright colors.
How often do you reckon, like how many of those movements should we do?
This one you can be doing every morning and every evening, and do about 10 of them. Okay. Just gently. You can do them in bed in the morning when you wake up. It's a great way just to release the tension in the most, you know, and also it's a really good way to prepare for sex. You know, just release it, just relax it, because it will relax you. So, you know, I mean, I know women in our 20s.
Sorry, when PJ comes home and he sees me with the ball between his legs, he's going to be thinking, tonight's the night.
I was just going to say, in our 20s, we just went, oh yes, let's now we have to, you know, we have to think a bit more about it. You know? But maybe not everybody does. But it's just a nice way of just, you know, relaxing. And it just relaxes the muscles, but it relaxes you as well. So you do these 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. You'll be, you know, really good to go. So the other one is we're going to lie on our side. Now, I use a cushion for my head on this side. You can do it without the cushion, but if you use the cushion, just make sure you're cuddling the cushion really well. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring those knees so that you have a nice line. And then you're going to just open it out and then relax it. Open it out. And this is going to open from the groin all the way across. And it's going to really give a good hip stretch, but also it's going to release any tension you have here. And if you do them really well, they really hurt. I am actually in line. I'm looking at the camera thinking, that doesn't make me look in line, but I am in line.
No, you are in line.
I'll do it without the cushion, and I'll show you. You can just come down on your arm like this, and then you just open out to the back. And you'll feel this also in that lower back area. I will give a disclaimer here. If you are out of line, or if you are having problems with any part of your body, make sure that you see either your physio or your medical practitioner. These are not meant for you if you're having problems. So if you do these 5 or 10 times a year, I mean, even 5 times. So you could do every exercise 5 times, and in 7 minutes, you'll be, you know.
You're building up that strength in your pelvic floor.
Yeah, so that's the second one, and you do it on both sides, of course. So you just open, and just, you know, you stack the feet. So you're stacking your feet and you're turning like this. And it's really, really effective. So that's 2 on the floor, and I'm just going to do 2 more because I see our time is running along.
Yeah.
The cat stretch. We call this the cat stretch. There's all sorts of different names for it, but I'm going to explain to you what the cat stretch is. Now, the cat stretch is basically you make a arch your back and then you make a round back. But if you are out of line in your SE, which is, you know, you have the psoas. I'm always talking about the psoas muscle, as Lucy knows. Psoas muscle, and you have the iliac psoas that goes here on the pelvic floor. And I exercise it always in my class because they're such an important muscle for our body. So when we do the cat stretch, what we want to imagine is, for those of you who love wine, which I know Lucy does and I do too. So you've got a tray, and on that tray on your back here is full with full glasses of wine. So you don't want to spill your wine, ladies. So if you have the pint glass, it's a pint glass. You don't want to spill your favorite beverage. So you want to pull that belly button in again. And you want to really get that belly button in nice and tight. So you see my back is totally straight. My knees are under my hips. My wrists are directly under my shoulders. And I open my fingers out so that I'm not taking too much pressure on the wrists. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that tray really, really tight. And I'm just going to gently push my glutes out. And I'm going to look forward. And then I'm going to pull that stomach back in and gently bring it back to a straight back. And then I'm going to arch it again. And really slowly moving and pulling in from here so that we don't spill our wine. So important. But when you're arching, you're looking forward, and then when you come back to straight, you're looking down, and then when you make the ball of the back, you're looking towards your knees, the crown of your head, and your knees are one line. And that tray will stay there the whole time. What I don't want to see, ladies, is that, it's not going to help you. It's going to hinder you.
So it's a slow movement. That's what you're saying. A very slow, gentle movement.
Slow and focused. You want to focus on that straight back and that arched back, and then you want to focus on that when you make that ball of make a big ball on my back.
Yeah.
So my tray still won't fall because I'm making my movements so nice and slow. And this is a really effective exercise. Women are often given this exercise as well by their GPs or by their practitioners, and women go home and they're doing it like this. And
yeah, that was my mistake in the beginning. I was doing it like that. You slowed me down.
When you're doing it like this, all you're doing is irritating everything. You're really irritating everything. So you're not making it any more flexible. You're just irritating your body. So and again, it's about being aware of the movement you're making and where those muscles are pulling in. And now I'm going to show you the wheel. It's going to be hard for you to see what I'm doing with the wheel, but the wheel is, the best way to describe the wheel is you're going to move from here. So you've got a zip going like this from your, and you're going to massage your organs in the movement. And it's a really small movement. So you're going to put your hands again in the same position. You're going to pull those belly button in, and then you're just going to massage yourself really and it really is effective in that lower abdominals and the lower region. You can do 8 times right, 8 times left, but you've really got to massage yourself from here. That wonderful pelvic floor area, that wonderful wounds that we have. And if you don't have a womb anymore, you don't have a spleen, or you don't have gallbladder, you've got to make sure that everything else is working. And now I'm going to show you the pissing dog, otherwise known as the fire hydrant. Much nicer name. So again, those hands and knees, so making sure that your fingers are wide, so that you're taking the weight up. And all you're going to do is you're going to lift up. See? See why it's called? You see why it's called? And you do this on both sides as well. And this is really effective because this is going to move this area and it's going to move this area. So it takes that whole area where it's going to, again, pull those muscles back in for you. And the other one, I think, is the bridge. One more is a very, very effective one as well. And when I do it, you'll see why. We call this the bridge for a reason, because you make a bridge. But I'm going to do the bridge without a cushion, and it's very important you do it without a cushion, because otherwise you'll get your neck into the wrong alignment. Same story for your feet. If you have tight hamstrings, short hamstrings, just find where your feet are most comfortable. And then we bring our arms again in that right line for our shoulders, pulling that belly button in. And you can imagine now your spine is a staircase, and you've got to take every step. So don't skip a step. You've got to take every step. So we're going to go down, and then we're going to do that pelvic tilt. So you're going to begin with those glutes coming off the floor, and then you're going to slowly, and disc for disc for disc, so your staircase is going up, 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 till you have a nice line from your shoulders to your knees. And when you've got that line, you've got to make sure that those ribs aren't pushing forward. So it's a nice line, and then you're going to pull this in, and you're going to hold, and then you're just going to slowly go back down again. And again, the staircase, you've got to take every step, and then release. And then you pull the belly button back in again. And then slowly, 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 slowly. Don't skip any steps till you're all the way up. And if you want the extra added bonus for the shoulders, you put your fingers together and you hold it here. And you'll feel the tension in all those muscles going all the way up. back.
Yeah, I feel that one. You always feel it in the front of your legs and your
Yeah.
hips and everywhere. Yeah.
And you feel it in the groin, and it's
Yeah.
it's a
You'll
really,
be your
really good
legs shaking a little bit as well as you're
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah.
And you know you're activating them. That's really good. So the other one, the last one I'm going to do is the Hindu squat. Now, the Hindu squat, I've discovered that not everybody can stand on their bare feet, but the Hindu squat is a really good squatting position for the pelvic floor. Do not do this if you have a prolapse. You can do it. That's not an issue. But if you have problems with your prolapse at this moment in time, do not do this exercise. But I can do this exercise like this. I can sit, or I can sit straight up. I come to understand that this is not the natural position for everybody to sit in, although I can sit like this for a long time. So I would start with on the ball of your feet, turn your heels in, and go against the wall like this. And
That's
just
great
practice
for
like
balance,
this.
helping keep your balance as well.
It helps you keep your balance, and then helps you build it up. And then eventually you can just move away from the wall, the ball of your feet. And once this area gets more flexible, you can then just eventually go down onto your heels, go back towards your wall for your balance, and then move away from your wall. And you sit like this.
You make it look so easy.
Well, you see, I was actually saying this last night in class. I said, the reason I make it easy is I know what I'm doing. You know, if I was to do acupuncture, it wouldn't be so easy for me. I don't know what I'm doing.
That is true. Wow, Louise, there's some amazing tips there for everyone with pelvic floor, and like you run classes online as well, so I'll put your information up, so if anyone wants to do one of your classes online, it would be hugely beneficial to you, for them, sorry. And or if you're in the Galway Loughrea area, you can always just do it in person, which is what I do, which is really good too. So all I can say is thank you so much. You have given us such great tips and advice, and we'll definitely do another podcast on you know, the sexual health, because I think that's a huge part, and again, something else that's not talked about. So again, I'll put all the details up, and I'd love it if you need any help with menopause, that you join my menopause program. It's over 12 weeks. You get emails and all the information every 2 weeks, and I'm there to help you every step of your way. And thanks for listening. Keep an eye out for more shows to come, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Subscribe to this channel because it's amazing. You had amazing speakers on. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed our time with you. And again, I just do the exercises for menopause, and I do the relaxation bits of it. But Lucy, you know so much more, and I love working with you about menopause because it's, you know, it's an amazing topic, and I look forward to our future working together for menopause. And I would definitely recommend your course. I will be sharing your links once we're sharing this link.
Thank you
all for listening. Thank you, Lucy, for interviewing me.
Thank you.
It's an absolute honor to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Delighted. Take care.
Take care.